What is up, comic fam? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm Mark. It's Sunday night. That means this is at Weeks in, the spoiler-filled look back at this week in comics and so much more. And tonight we are going to be talking about the new fan-made film Spiderman Lotus, as well as other news and comic reviews. So don't go anywhere. Check this out. Huge shout out to the homies over at Big Time Collectibles. Be sure to check them out at their website or follow them on social media. They are always doing some fantastic stuff. And if you need anything cleaned or pressed, hit up my friend Justin over on Instagram. Let him know you found him via the channel. Take advantage of the special offers that he runs for viewers of the channel. And as always, a huge shout out to my local comic shop, ABX Comics and Games. If you're getting into the hobby, if you're already in the hobby or looking to check out some comics or tabletop gaming, hit the links below. There's a lot of great resources right there in the description. So let's go ahead and bring in the panel. Joining us, as always, hailing from the next sector over, my man Paul Cook, and hailing from the Great White North. He was released over the wall. The shackles were broken. It was a long climb up that ice wall, but he made it, and down the other side. Chris, the comic vet, is in the building.
You know nothing, Mark.
Winter is coming. It's just not down here.
I'm glad.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
I am doing well. ABX, who are in possession of a new 9.6, New Mutants number 98, right?
Yeah. So Paul, I sent off and submitted a New Mutants 98 for Paul up at ABX, and it came back a 9.6. Came back a solid grade. Very, very well done. Not a cheap book. Definitely a heavily desired book right now. Yeah. And I apologize ahead of time. I figured it out after playing the intro. My ears are just messed up from allergies and yard work. Everyone sounds muffled to me. And I don't think the computer's broken. It's been fine every day until today. So if I say
t-shirt too, by the way.
What?
It's a nice t-shirt, by the way, almost like you're anticipating something coming up.
Yeah, I got the Blue Beetle shirt.
Hey,
Ben.
We went down to Angels and I got this cool Transformer card. And
nice.
Angel doesn't have the map, and this was an easy one to figure out how to transform. Right, Daddy?
Yeah, you did it all on your own. Proud of you.
Right, Daddy.
Go. So we're going to be getting into a few things tonight, regular comic news and reviews and everything. But there was a unique film that dropped this week. Apparently, it's been 2 years in the making. It was a fan-made, crowd-funded, full-length feature film Spider-Man movie, surrounded in controversy and everything. That I learned a lot about this film in the last few days. I first found out about it, I think it was Thursday that I saw a post, like it hit my feed. I guess they boosted the sharing on it because it was about to release. And that's when I found it and found out about the controversy and everything around it. And we sat down and watched it as a family this Saturday night. And it was there's a lot to talk about with it. But before we do any of that, I want to say hey to some of the people in the chat real quick. We've got Las Crucias 1971. Woohoo to you two. Collecting with Durs is in the building. What is going on, Dursy boy? Trev the shipping guru. What is happening? Dr. Von Hoot from the Spiral Dimension is here. Derek Cavan. Hello. Trev, Hoot, Las Crucias. KBDM is in the building. What is up? Evil's Comics. What is going on, Mike? Throwing up those custom emojis. You get access to those emojis by joining the channel membership. So a big shout out to the channel members. Appreciate each and every one of y'all, including you, William Wilson. Hope you're doing good today. Phil is in the building. What's up? Dagger Cards. Hey boy to you too. Let's see who else we got up in here. Boom, boom, boom. And I think we done made it to the bottom there. Boom. There we go. 18 people watching. Make sure y'all hit that thumbs up. In the internal battle against the YouTube algorithm, thumbs up supposedly help. So don't know if they do or not, but that's what we're told to say. So getting back to it, before we dive into it, to give a little backstory, I guess, at least from what I know of this film. And then I got like a little clip, put a little clip in here. But apparently this was a young man. He's still a young man, ridiculously young. But how old is he? Like 20 or something like that? 22?
I want to say that he's like a freshman or a sophomore in college now, I believe.
Yeah, he's ridiculously young. A kid made this movie. A literal kid made this movie, and it blows my mind. But From what I understand, he wasn't necessarily blown away by the current version of Spider-Man. And what any person with any kind of creative capability should do in a situation when they're not happy with something is make your own. So he set out, crowdfunded, and raised over $100,000 to put into this project. Now, it is a licensed project. So the way that works is you can't sell it. It's a not-for-profit thing. So you can use the money you raise to put into the project to pay your actors, to pay your editors, your special effects people and all that, but you're not allowed to actually sell the product or the merchandising for it or anything like that. So it was released free to YouTube. It's right here on YouTube. Pop said he was 15 when he started this movie. That is insane. And he was also 15 when the controversy surrounded him. Apparently he was a young kid in high school who just left the umbrella of homeschooling for the first time. And in an attempt to make friends and impress his friends in those days, they were sitting there saying insensitive things like slurs and racist jokes with each other and this and that. And that private chat got leaked, and he made a public apology, which I think he did as good as you could do for a situation like that. He addressed the fact that those things, he said those things, they were not okay, and explained the situation and didn't downplay it at all and apologized for it and pointed out that that's not who he is anymore. And it didn't understand the full weight of what he was actually saying or doing in those days. And he's embarrassed and ashamed of it, but it's a part of his past, and he's not going to neglect that truth. So I think he did the best you could in that situation. It is unfortunate, but reminds me of other bigger name creators that were definitely forgiven for very similar transgressions. James Gunn, who did really ridiculously offensive stuff that doesn't fly today and got canceled and bounced back from it. So it was one of those situations. And so to me, like, that's terrible. It happened, but it doesn't dictate the quality of this film or anything. So I'm going to share a clip from it just so you can see it if you haven't seen a trailer or anything for it, and then we'll discuss it right after that. So let me see if it's in here. Let's take a look at this. So Spider-Man Lotus, this is a clip. Here we go.
It's pretty impressive.
A kid made this?
I was going to say. Now, just backstory from my perspective. I knew nothing of this, and I thought I had my ear to the ground when it comes to Spider-Man stuff. But I saw that there was a theatrical premiere for this, and it said Spider-Man Lotus, and it had a young man and a young woman posing with the backdrop. And I just thought, oh, did Marvel make an animated film? And maybe these are the voice actors. Then I got to, like, once you read the comments and everything, and like, obviously the haters come out and they're talking about the creative mind behind it and bad mouthing them and all this and everything. And then you see some of the positives that are there, like this is high quality fan movie stuff. And so you have, obviously there was a lot of detractors that are just like fan movie and blah blah blah. And like, I know Star Trek has been done to death, and you can there's quality in those ones too. But like, I saw that before and I was like, my God, it's just like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Yes. And to that point, I thought that's where this story takes us as well. So for those that don't know, the story premise of this is it's following the gang being Peter, Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane, and Harry Osborn. And this is a story about the tragic death of Gwen Stacy. The movie takes place pretty much directly after that. And the story kind of tells parallel of before her death and right after her death. And it's them all dealing with that loss and trying to find themselves again.
So there's no biting of Peter. Peter's already Spider-Man in the beginning, because I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah. So you do get like so it's them all trying to get back on the wagon, because, you know, after this is all based 100% on comic lore. Like, everything that happens is from the comic. There's even tons of Easter eggs through this. But when when we meet Peter, it's him flashing back, monologuing at like pretty much the last time him and Gwen saw each other without him in the suit trying to keep her from dying. Pretty much, you get some flashbacks to the night she died, flashbacks to the fight with him and Green Goblin when he confronted him after her death. It touches on the death of Captain Stacy a little bit, and it touches on how Harry's trying to cope with not having a father after the death of Green Goblin at at his own hands, with the glider.
So one question. So it sounds like they're borrowing heavy from the Jerry Conway time, with him writing ASM and the 120 through 130, that the whole death of Gwen saga. So are they referencing then that Gwen and Harry were a couple? Because when Gwen passed away, she actually wasn't with Peter. Peter was already with.
They don't get
MJ.
into all
relationships and who was dating
well,
who.
They do.
Okay.
Gwen is with Peter because if you remember, he was going to give her a ring.
Yeah, she wasn't with Harry though. Is what.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. She was with Peter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're dealing with like it's total loss. So with that budget, after paying everyone, they did something very unique in the sense that they took a very specific moment and they dove into that moment and then stretched it. That moment of grieving. The movie is the grieving process of these characters post massive tragedy, the loss of Norman, the loss of Gwen, and all these characters trying to figure out how to get back on the horse. And in this film, they were like a tight-knit group kind of thing, So Mary Jane has no friends left because you have Gwen's passed away. You have Harry who's missing after the death of his father. You have Peter who's turned into a hermit after the death of Gwen. You have Harry coming back and trying to find what a life looks like now after all this death. And you have Peter trying to balance processing this grief and if he even should be Spider-Man anymore because he's looking at all the failures. He doesn't see any of his successes. He only sees his failures. And they did something unique. What's original to this film is this character named Tim. So Mary Jane, I am Team Gwen. I have been forever. I love the idea of Peter and Gwen, and it could be the tragedy that makes that so special to me. But when it comes down to it, MJ is MJ. And in the beginning of this film, she's looking for Peter and finds him at Gwen's grave. And she's like, long story short, I knew you'd be here, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't have anyone left either. You're just leaving me out here. Like, I'm still here. I'm still your friend. And she goes, the Daily Bugle gave me this letter. It's for Spider-Man. I want you to have it and give it to Spider-Man. And she makes a comment. She's like, just so you know, this was neither of y'all's fault. Talking about him and Spider-Man, like already cluing us in, like she knows, like she has never been stupid. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I got goosebumps from some of the moments, man. I got him now talking about it. But the letter was from a little boy who's terminally ill. Tim was 10 years old, and they don't touch on what he's ill with. You can pretty much assume it's probably something like cancer or something. He's at home. It looks like he has some small hospice care set up, IV, hospital bed in his house. And he wanted to meet Spider-Man before he died. And Peter comes to terms with himself enough to put on the suit and go visit Tim. And through his time with Tim, he's reflecting on the events that got him to that room today, like the bad catch, facing the goblin, his actual origin, all of this going through with Tim. And that's how we get like the backstory shown and everything. And that's how you see him processing who he is through these conversations with this little boy. And it was a fantastically emotional story. It was shocking for me. Paul, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I just will start by saying it has almost 2 million views in less than 48 hours already. It was, I think I mentioned to you, the first thing I sent to you was it's very much an emo Spider-Man. But in a lot of ways, it has to be. You know, you have $100,000. Okay, you know what? You're not going to have to expect it to have all the explosions and everything else that you're going to see in a regular, full theatrical, movie. Is not going to be there. For what it was looking to do, I thought it was really good. I also really loved the whole scene in the bedroom with Tim, the little kid. We also see he flashes back. He thinks about how he became Spider-Man, and about how he could have stopped the guy who was stealing from the wrestling manager and everything, and he didn't. And there's a lot of really good moments. I mean, at one point, when the little kid says, "Hey, can you do one more thing? Can you tell me who you are?" Right? And it's like, and he sits there and he thinks about, is that something that I want? Can I do that? And he decides to trust this little kid, and I think that's in some ways a turning point that he can trust that he can trust people again, and that he's able to trust not only trust the kid, but he trusts himself now with his decisions. I think to trust this kid again as well. So it's an extension of him trusting himself as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the action scenes that we had, which were not a lot. I mean, there's not a lot of action scenes. There's one at the beginning with the shocker, which was pretty good, and then there's that scene that you showed towards the end. For the $100,000, that looks really good. Even for just $100,000. But the rest of it, you're not going to get a lot of fight scenes and things like that. That's not what this story is about. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And to the point, like, I'm not normally a fan of like little kids being like a plot motivator. You know what I mean? Like, I hang out with kids all day. I love mine to death. I say it all the time on here. I'm not a big fan of like little kids. They're just not. They're normally for me insufferable. This little kid was fantastic, and the whole thing was just gut wrenching. Again, he has Spider-Man all on his walls when Spider-Man comes to see him, he doesn't know what to do at first, doesn't know how to interact with him. And they sit down and they start playing the Super Nintendo together, and they're sitting there and it's kind of quiet. Everything's kind of chill. And the little kid just looks up at him and he's like, "Can you tell me one more thing, Spider-Man?" He's like, "What is it? What happened to the girl on the bridge?" And both me and Kyle both go, dang. Cause like, it just, there's so many gut punch moments with this. And again, it's a story driven movie. Like it's not action driven. And they're like, you point out there's some cool moments. Shocker's a little awkward. They did this thing with the actor where he's like, you could tell, I don't know what he's doing, like charging up or what, but
yeah,
it was pretty cool. Like you can definitely tell it's a fan made film, but I don't believe that there could be a higher quality production for a fan made film. Like they knew where to put the money, where to place it. And the performances were absolutely stellar. And again, to Paul's point, 2 million views in 48 hours is insane.
So is the story centralized in New York? Like, does it look like they're actually in New York and reference New York properly?
Just what are your quick thoughts?
You see him standing over at one point he's at the top of the Brooklyn Bridge. You also see in one of the establishing shots, you can see the World Trade Center, the
Freedom Tower,
or whatever it's called now, the Freedom Tower. You can see that. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely New York. There's some beautiful scenic shots all through it.
Okay.
Right. In the scene with Tim too, one of the things that actually kind of pushes Spider-Man to where he needs to be is he has one conversation with Tim's mother before he leaves, and she basically, and I almost felt as though she was almost kind of playing the Aunt May role, kind of.
Yes.
And she was, and she says some things to Peter that really makes him examine himself. And okay, you know what am I going to do here? And that's when he decides basically to go all in with this kid.
Yeah, it was impressive. And by the end of it, and dude, he's talking to Gwen throughout the film, and that's what's so heartbreaking. Peter is your narrator. Like when you see him on their last date, you hear him talking and everything over what you're seeing. Like you hear him talking in the scene in the moment too, but he's like setting it with narration dialogue and everything. And he's like, "I wish I would have known this was our last night together. I would have done this so much differently." And it's already ripping you to pieces just from the opening. It reminds me how much people think I hate Marvel. That's so far from the truth. I just don't like the current Disney stuff. I'm not impressed with the comics. I like if you watch my content enough, I love Marvel characters. I have and this just rips you to pieces how much you feel invested with these characters and these actors that they casted. This story that he's written puts you into the characters so well. And by the end of the movie, you see that this narrating that he's doing, it's his final goodbye to Gwen that he's recording. And he's like making sure that he puts on there, like, "I don't want you to think this is goodbye. This is just me checking in, and I'll check back in from time to time." And Mary Jane walks in toward the end of it, and he's like, asks her how much she heard and all this and that. And she's like, "Just the tail end, just let her know I said hello and I miss her too." And Harry comes in, and you kind of have like the characters are still broken, but they've healed. They're finding their path to healing through all the grieving process. And Harry leaves, and MJ stays behind, and Peter goes and sits on the couch. And it was the moment, like my eyes got wet and I just laughed. She looks across the room and goes, "You okay over there, Tiger?" And I'm like, "Oh no." Just lost it. Like I lost it. Like this is so good. It's ridiculously well written.
So, $1 million question. Is there post-credit scenes?
There's not, but there's a fantastic credit scene, like with comic panels and everything. And there's this scene where he's sitting there with Tim going through photos of news clippets that he saved. And some of the, like one of them is the famous shot of him holding up all the water pipes and everything. And
issue 33. Okay.
Yes. Like, this is so good.
Yeah.
And
the
by the way, I don't know. I don't know if you thought this, Mark, but I thought we didn't see a lot of him, but I thought that the Green Goblin looked better in this movie than he did in Spider-Man, in the first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. So it was a true Green Goblin outfit. Like he has the head, but it's a mask, and instead of it being armor, it's a suit. It was awesome. Another character that we get introduced to, and he's in a couple of scenes, is Flash Thompson. And if you know your Spider-Man lore, it's heartbreaking too. It's them all, like it's him. He has a scene with Mary Jane where he's kind of like the lightning rod that kind of focused her again because she's by herself. Peter's grieving, Harry's missing, Gwen's gone, and she's trying just to still be social with her friends, and she's just out on a balcony, like smoky-eyed and trying to light a cigarette, even though she's not a smoker kind of thing. And someone comes out to speak to her, and it's Flash, and he's the one that kind of like points in the direction of her friends that are kind of popping back up and everything. And then he invites her to a going away party because even though his girlfriend hates the idea and she's so mad, but he's joining the military.
Right.
And by the end of it,
wow.
And he talks about the fact that, he talks about his relationship with Peter, about how when they were younger, he would bully him and everything. And it was like, so they cover the whole thing in a really adept way throughout the entire movie.
And we even get to see the final scene is like I said, when they were all in the apartment, kind of like better toward the end, they say, all right, well, Flash has got his going away party tomorrow night at 6. We'll meet there. Like, let's all get back up on the horse kind of thing. And Harry's there, MJ's there, Flash is there in his dresses and everything. And I'm just thinking like, this is sad, man. Like, cause like he goes away and he dies until he pops back up. But Peter shows up toward the end and he's walking in, and we're sitting there watching it. And Peter's standing outside looking in, and there's a lot of green, like iconic symbolism stuff whenever Harry's in his shot. Like it's showing him slow motion being happy, and Harry's there, and just a green confetti comes falling down around him. And I say out loud, I'm like, where are the sirens? And Peter's getting ready to go in, and then you hear the sirens, and he looks back, and he looks in, and you can tell he's happy. He's at peace, and he takes off into the alley, pulls the shirt open. You see the Spider-Man suit, then he swings through to that final shot with that clip that I shared. It was so spot on. It was on brand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It was so well. The best first day of school. What?
Monkey starting school tomorrow.
Nice.
Monkey's not letting.
I want to be a doctor when I grow up. Nice.
Yeah, don't let her work on you. Don't do it. You'll leave with a limp you didn't come with.
The only criticism I have, and this is a very small criticism, is with the credits. They tell you 3 times who the director is of this movie.
Oh, okay.
Once at the beginning with the title, once at the end, and then again with the rolling credits at the end.
With the scroll?
Yeah, exactly.
That is typical though, because like I've watched enough movies to know that when you're watching a movie in the opening credits, the last credit you see in an opening credit is always the director. Always. Right. When you see directed by Snyder, that means no more credits after that movie's coming. And at the end, typically the way it goes is you'll see the list of actors, or no, you'll see the director first and then the list of actors at the end, and then again in the scroll. But I think that people were actually joking about him mentioning he wrote and directed it on social media already. I saw a couple of posts where people were doing that. And but yeah, I was ridiculously impressed with it. I would heavily suggest people checking this out. This was like, call it fan film, which it is, and like compare quality, but this is just as good, if not better, as a lot of the stuff that we see produced and put out for television consumption. So if you're okay with watching television consumption, this was beyond acceptable for that.
So with 100,000, I'm presuming then they're handcuffed to a certain level of special effects in that. Is he web slinging a lot, or was it just that tail end scene that you just showed? Like was
You
he
get an
web slinging in the
opening credit
beginning?
with him web slinging. You
Yeah.
get
Yep.
the big one at the end there that's about the
Yep.
same length as in the beginning, and then in the middle of the film, there's like a small moment here and there kind of thing. Like there's this beautiful scene. Like you could screenshot it, make a poster out of it. It was very. And you remember the Andrew Garfield poster with him just kind of with his head down with the rain on him?
Yep.
Mhm.
That's in this movie. He's on the bridge where Gwen fell, sitting there looking down, flashing back to the bad catch, and does a cool little web sling out of there. And he has little moments here and there. But yeah, there's two full-on fights, one with Shocker, one with Goblin. You have two like longer swing sequences, and then a couple of little ones throughout it.
And that's
And-
always been. Sorry, Paul.
I'm saying, and it's for those of you who don't, it's a full movie too. It is. I mean, it's
Hour and 40
it's a full
minutes.
2 hours. Yeah, it's an hour and 40 minutes, and then there's like 20 minutes of the crowdsourcers, all the names and everything. But it's a good hour and a half to hour and 40 minutes of a movie.
Yeah, I clocked it Friday night when I was on In the Mix. It was exactly 140 movie where it tells you who directed it again at an hour and 40 minutes.
That's always been my big knock on most Spider-Man films. Peter always talks about what he does to clear his head with the money issues, the relationship issues, the family issues, the job issues, the villain issues, is that he just goes out and he web slings through the streets of New York. That's what he does to clear his head. I can't sleep tonight. I'm just going to go out web sling. I wish they did that more often and provided that narrative where it's just like, oh, I had a real bad day. You know what? I'm going to go web sling. And he goes up and down through Manhattan, finding small stuff, street level stuff to deal with. That's the one thing I kind of feel with new comic books. They trailed away from that. And I kind of hope that at some point, at least in one scene, whomever is playing Spider-Man, I guess Tom Holland still for a bit, relays that. Like, I've had a terrible day, or I've just had a big fight, and this is what I do to clear my head. Like, so many issues, so many good writers spotlighted Peter that way in the costume. So I'm hoping when I see this that I get that flavor from that Peter always puts the mask on and goes out at night when he's had a terrible, rough day, and when he's broke.
Yeah, when he's broke. Yeah, and this also had me thinking by the end of it, I was just like sitting there reminiscing on Spider-Man as a character as a whole, as the franchise for Marvel. It made me think like this somber, this sad Spider-Man that a lot of people are wanting to get away from. We want Happy Peter. I feel like that is kind of becoming synonymous with his name. Like this is the struggle bus of the Marvel universe and personified with Spider-Man. And this movie was no different. It's highlighting like the worst day of his entire existence and really diving into that. So I think that might be like, Batman's dark and gloomy. Spider-Man's just bright and gloomy at this point. It just seems like it just goes hand in hand how people view him. Because this was a 15-year-old who's like, this isn't my Spider-Man. Let's make my Spider-Man. And he nailed the character, but it's interesting to think that his Spider-Man, who he clearly knows a lot about, is this struggling character.
Jerry Conway's Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was solid. It was really good. Heavily suggested. Chris, I know you'll like it. Like if you're a Spider-Man, there's no way like a Spider-Man fan could watch this and be like, that was garbage. There's not a chance. Not a chance. Unless they're just railing against the creator. There's
even the worst Spider-Man movies, I'm like, yeah, I'll defend them. I'll pick them apart as a Spider-Man fan, but I still enjoyed them.
Bro, I defend Spider-Man 3 all the time. I just defend Amazing 2. I don't care for the Disney ones. And they're not even Disney ones, they're Sony ones still. It's still Sony, but
it's all Sony.
They just not my jam. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Now that last one, God, I don't even remember the name of it. Far From Home. I love the fan service for that one. Like fan service extravaganza, and that's how you're supposed to do fan service. They absolutely nailed it.
Interestingly enough, my favorite scene of that one was when Andrew Garfield saved MJ, and it's like,
are you okay?
know what? Yeah.
but that just goes to show the strength of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of the Disney and all of that, but the one thing that the fan servicing, and we brought in Toby and Andrew, that seems to get forgotten about is Tom Holland's performance in this. It was the first time he got to be vicious as Spider-Man. When he's nailing Green Goblin, like just fist over fist, that's the first time we've seen his Spider-Man in any Marvel movie flat out just pummel someone. That's never happened before.
You
And
want to
the
know what's most
emotion of
notably in that scene for me is when he picks up the glider with his full-on rage of Spider-Man, goes to swing, and the goat steps in and just catches it without a struggle.
on the
Like-
lower ground.
It-
Hello,
it's
Star
fun-
Wars on the lower ground.
It's funny because John Watts, was that the guy who directed it?
Yeah, the
Yes.
director of the new ones checked this one
just-
off.
He just
Did he?
right, exactly. But he just recently said that now the Tom Holland Spider-Man is the real Spider-Man after the third movie. He's by himself, right? Nobody
Yeah.
knows who he is, right? So he really is. It can be like if he wants to keep going, he's really
Yeah.
starting with who he says now is the real
Right.
Spider-Man.
Now I'm
Kind of
the third
completely
movie.
on board for more because I love where they ended it. And we talked
In
about it
that
the
suit
night
too, baby.
when we did this show after
Yeah.
when we did the spoiler special for No Way Home.
Far from
We
home.
talked about that, how the trilogy was just one origin, and now we're finally to Spider-Man. He's had the loss.
Yeah.
He's on his own. He can't pay bills. He needs a job. He's making his own suit. We finally checked off. I don't care how many times you tell an origin, like, well, I do, it gets old. But if you're going to do it, there's certain things for certain characters that have to be there in order for it to feel like it. Like in order to have the essence of the character, you need certain things. And they waited till this last movie to do those things. And I don't know why they did or whatever. I mean, but we're there now. So that's still, a hopeful stuff on the horizon for upcoming Spider-Man.
Almost
Nicholas
like,
Eman was the
almost-
GOAT, and my dad
almost
will
like-
agree with that.
almost like there are canon moments that have to happen, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Nexus points, Paul. Nexus points.
Again, I'll say that Andrew Garfield's my favorite Spider-Man in the suit. But I'm excited for to see where Tom Holland goes from here. I think they've set it up. Now it's on him. Like we just had a 99-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle. Let's see where it goes, because his Spider-Man's exactly what you said, man. He's stripped down. There's nothing there. He's truly on his own, and May is gone too. So no more false father figure. No more sidekick in happy to help him. No more mother role. No more girlfriend. No more
Get rid
best
of
friend.
Ned now.
It's all gone, right? It's just a question. Which Ned is it? Is it Ned Leeds or someone else? Because are we finally going to get the Hobgoblin?
Speedball is Becker's favorite Spider-Man. That would be a great way to kick off his run. Doing it differently, but still with actual Spider-Man characters. Do Hobgoblin instead of Green Goblin for this Spider-Man, and let it be Ned.
Yeah.
He's already bald, wearing a bad wig. Might as well take the wig off and put a mask on and give him a glider.
So that young man's lost some weight too.
Actor wears.
Mhm.
So let's get into some news. The only thing that I really know that stands out, and this is just pertinent because we touched on it last week and we called BS on it last week, but it's confirmed that the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman hubbub was just hubbub, and there's no Wonder Woman 3 in active development. One of the big execs who was attached to the old DCEU said that he's not even privy to anything going on moving forward and doesn't even know if there's going to be any of the original cast of actors or anything moving forward into the new DCU. So there is no Gal Gadot Wonder Woman 3 in development.
Mm-hmm.
But she is the evil queen in the upcoming Snow White. So if you want to see Gal Gadot, she'll be over there. A mirror trying to convince her she's not hot.
Does she have a new Netflix movie that's coming out or
She
just
does.
came out?
I think it's out now. Yeah.
Like from the
it's kinda
producers of
like-
Mission Impossible or something?
I was gonna say yeah. It's like a female Mission Impossible type thing.
Okay.
It's already out. You know what the name of it is? I hadn't heard of this.
No, I only heard that she has a new one coming, and it's from the creators or that one of the producers of Henry Cavill's Mission Impossible.
Fallout, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think it's Fallout or maybe it's Ghost Protocol, one or the other, but
Heart of Stone is the name of the movie.
Heart of Stone. Okay.
I'm excited to see the new Mission Impossible again. I'm ready for that one to hit Paramount. That was. Did you see it yet, Chris?
Yeah, Yeah.
That was solid. That was a ridiculously solid movie.
Yeah.
I just wish at one point they would just like have put like an ankle tracker or handcuffs on Grace, on Haley Atwell's character, because she ran away so much in that movie.
Yeah.
Like all your problems are solved if she would not run away again.
She ran more in that movie than Tom Cruise ran.
She did. She
and
legitimately
he
did.
runs a lot. But
He
yeah,
does. He's always running.
Just back to Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman. Like, again, I'm still sour on it, and I'm not going to get into that. But if you're doing a reset and that Blue Beetle is supposed to be like the last and the beginning, or the crossover part of it, if you recast Superman, you're all in at this point. Everyone has to be
You got to
recast.
recast everyone. I'm with you on
And-
that.
and
You're
again,
gonna
like-
recast.
That's just it. So it's the same thing.
I legitimately
If
think
Superman's
that's
getting
been their plan.
recast, then Batman's getting recast, then Harley has to be
confirmed.
recast, Wonder
Ooh.
Woman has to be recast. I get it, but if we're going in on Superman,
Yeah, got
you can't just half-ass it. Or it's just not gonna be taken seriously if some people get to stick around. So it means The Rock too, they're all gone.
Not
Like,
just that, but the general audience will not understand what's happening if you
It is
don't.
just going to be too confusing for people. It's like, well, wait a second.
especially with
Exactly.
Pattinson's films still sticking around, you have to have it has to sell in order for it to be taken seriously. They all have to go. I don't know how Momoa's going to survive it unless he's going to be Lobo or something, but they're all
I really
finished.
think that that's been their plan from the whole time, but I think they might have felt that's too much for the audience to digest without just burning down everything, So they ripped the band-aid off with Cavill, potentially because he's lost out on so much potential sitting around waiting on Warner Brothers. Like, it is ridiculous how much he has missed out on because he had just sitting waiting on them to fulfill a contract. I'm sure he still got paid out for that contract. I mean, you'd had to have without you got sued and made more money, but like there's no way they're not going to. We know that there's going to be a new Batman. They announced that already with the Brave and the Bold thing, but that's going to be pushed back till after Matt Reeves' Batman 2, and I guarantee you there won't be another one after that, no matter how it does. And they already announced the first Amazon project will be like a throwback series toward like looking at the history of them. So we won't even have a Wonder Woman in that, probably just a Hippolyta being the focus. So it looks like they're just trying to slowly rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I think they're just they went all in on the dismissal of Cavill and The Rock, and there was so much backlash. They're kind of nervous now.
Pop says, I don't think the guy who made the Peacemaker show is worried about being taken seriously.
But that's like Peacemaker.
He's got
Peacemaker,
to.
he's got to go too, man. Like they're all done.
But they're not. They're keeping Peacemaker. They're keeping him. They're keeping him. You want a new Amanda Waller?
They've already
keeping
confirmed that she's in, so we know because that's already being like worked on. So we know that she's not going anywhere. That confirms that we have at least
weird.
So it's going to. Man, this is going to. I just feel like this is going. Like normally, I'm pretty optimistic just because I enjoy this stuff, but I want it to be more successful than just in my household. You know what I mean?
It's I just go back to the Flash. I legitimately thought they were going to bring in
their reset button.
A different Earth, like Cavill and this Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League was Earth 2, 3, 4. Pick a bloody number, and that a couple of them somehow managed to get off that planet, but it's gone. And these are the remnants. These are your leftovers. Somehow we're going to move forward, and we're going to begin with a new Superman because without Superman, the world cannot exist. And that's how they're doing it. But that didn't happen. So I don't know if it was a missed opportunity, but you're right. I forget, Paul, thank you for saying that. I forgot that. Yes, same actress is sticking on as Amanda Waller. So that's when that whole Gal Gadot thing came down. I'm like, okay, so they're keeping her.
Not exactly.
But they're not keeping
sure,
Superman.
Can tell us what's wrong with the kelp.
Go ahead.
It's just it really is. It's going to be, especially if you're a casual viewer or a casual follower of comics, it's just going to be very confusing and saying, okay, but this Waller has seen Henry Cavill. How does she not know that this is a different Superman now?
Yeah.
Type of a thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, she has a Superman too, but it's, I don't know, man. I wish him luck. I'm still bitter about Cavill, but hey, if there's no Cavill, just clean the damn slate. But impress me how you're going to have these same character or these same actors and actresses in the new fold.
Yeah, dude, they're one opportunity to do it. They already burned it. I guess they could have done it and they just didn't show it. But just like in the comics, coming back from the Flashpoint, nothing was the same. We were in the New 52. You know, coming back at the end of the Flash, nothing was the same. We have Clooney Batman, Momoa Aquaman. We know that all the characters who's who is mixed up, but they shouldn't have played the joke with Clooney. Cool seeing him. They shouldn't have done the thing with Aquaman being drunk and stupid, but him just explaining. They could have walked him out with him being serious. If they would have had Arthur being serious about the event, that would have lent to the reset, like without having to show us everything. Is, dude, I just saw Bruce the other day. That's not my Bruce, and not shown us
Exactly.
Clooney.
Just another one where he says, "Hey, you know what? I don't know. You know, there's stuff that we don't even know about yet that's changed. You know, that we haven't even seen." That's what he could have been saying.
Yeah, he could have
Ezra
said,
Miller.
I went to see Cal. That was not the Cal from my Earth. I went to see Bruce. That was not the Bruce from my Earth. You're the first person I recognize. Like that would have done it. Just that one line of dialogue would have acknowledged that it is now the new DCU. And that they yeah. So where it stands right now, you have Barry in a world that we know is not going to exist. George Clooney's not the new Batman, but we know he's going to have to be attempting to reset it. And there's going to have to be another moment where they say Flash tried to reset it. And I don't know. It's just crazy they missed that opportunity to do a reset on it. I mean, they definitely they shuffled it. It's definitely not where we left it, you know. But wow, what a
It's
missed
just
opportunity.
Barry and grocery stores just don't mix.
Yeah, that was a really emotional moment at the end when he went to reset things and tell his mom bye. That hit me in the feels.
Yeah, and then he focused on the dad and he messed that up too.
Yeah, like learn nothing. Dude learned nothing from the movie.
He's the bloody Jon Snow of the DCEU, man.
But we have a long time until we get to any of this stuff because they're still on strike. Although the studios did make a counter proposal the other day that the writers are taking back to take a look at. So small steps, baby steps. But
No,
then we
it's
have
not to ratify though, right? It's not talking to
They haven't
ratify.
even.
Okay.
They're just
Okay.
the leaders are just going to study the proposal yet. So the leaders haven't even told the members what's in the counter proposal yet because they don't want to get ahead of things. But we have the Disney virtual effects people are unionizing now. So
Yeah,
because
CG
apparently
people are talking about
they're not paying overtime, and they are having unrealistic turnaround times. So
They're not paying.
they've
Yeah, that's
decided
going
that
to
they're
go
going to
poorly for
unionize.
them, being that these studios are pushing hard and not giving on AI, and now the people whose job is replaced by AI first are pushing back. What a weird time to be alive when we're literally watching Skynet slowly take over. This is nuts. And they're learning nothing from it. Like the studios are like vocal right now.
They're learning nothing as his
Learning nothing. Yeah. James Cameron warned all of y'all. Isaac Asimov warned all of y'all decades ago. Ain't nobody listening. But the funny thing is, like the most vocal the studios have been about this strike is talking about how they're still super supportive of AI, how it's not going anywhere. They're not budging on it. It's crazy.
All I have to say is when I say I mean EYE, am scared.
What is up, K-pop? Brian LCS, how are you doing tonight? Mr. Brian is the host and the creator of the CBC Award. So if you have any grievances about the community awards, be sure to follow Brian and complain to him directly. He's got thick skin and he'll happily make a video shaming you for caring so much.
Oh yeah, or leave you out of it. Hello. Yeah, you're right though. If all the things I could say, is that Brian has thick skin.
Yeah, he does. Dude, I love watching the little call out clip he did last year. That was really funny. I remind people all the time, last year's CBC award thing started with him in a house robe and like a gold chain lip syncing to Mark Riboulet. Like, yo, y'all really taking this so serious? Because Brian's not. It's supposed to be for fun. Magnus warned us decades ago. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. We don't learn. Pretty sure we kept touching the first flame over and over. Yeah, I'm sure plenty of cavemen died in fire.
Yeah.
That was definitely a thing. Oh, it was a great episode of the Y-Files this week. Don't know if anyone else watches that, but millions of people do. It's a fantastic show on YouTube. They had an episode focusing on the science of ghost hunting and went in on some of those ghost hunting shows. It was fantastic. It premieres every Thursday night at approximately 8:30 to 9. Go ahead and check that show out. Y'all are missing
Did you
that.
watch My Adventures with Superman?
I didn't, but I heard that there's a cringe twist. Well, I call it cringe, but something with Lois and a little blue thing.
There is, you know what? It actually is. It's kind of inventive in a lot of ways. It's not your typical Superman that you would want to know, but we do find out that it's a totally different Earth than we're used to because we have seen variations of Silver Banshee and Parasite and the Brotherhood of Evil, and this week that little blue thing was Mr. Mxyzptlk. And he actually, at one point, when he's talking to the Superman from this Earth, he does his little magic thing, and we see the Fleischer Superman, and then we see the Timverse Superman, and then we see the Super Friend Superman, and so he talks about all these different Earths and everything, and then we get to first see the Legion of Loises. So we see that as well. So it's pretty inventive. It's you have to have an open mind and you have to be able to say this is not the Superman I'm used to, but it is kind of inventive in a lot of ways, I think.
I need to get caught up on it. I say that, but I probably won't. Like, life is so busy right now.
Yeah, and and to your point too, I know you're not a big fan of anime. The animation style is something that for some people works, for some people doesn't.
Yeah, it didn't seem too overly anime, and like Tyler watches a lot of anime, and he said this is kind of like a bridge between like American animation and Japanese animation.
Really
They don't
is,
lean
yeah.
too heavily into one or the other.
Do we have an episode count on what this season is supposed to be?
I don't. I know they've done 7 episodes so far, but I'm not sure how
7,
many
okay.
they're doing total.
Okay. And Pa Kent is still alive at this point?
No, nope.
No.
And they
Okay.
and it's like this Superman does not know where he's from. He's still learning his superpowers.
Right.
So it's however, Lois and Jimmy do now know that he is Clark Kent. So that's been revealed in these
okay.
episodes. So but yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it.
I might get caught up on it now because What We Do in the Shadows is wrapped up. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is wrapped up. The Righteous Gemstones is wrapped up. So like everything that I've been watching, I watch a lot of comedy stuff like that. All 3 of those shows are bangers.
And though, like a lot of the things you are not like you're used to seeing, there is just enough that's familiar with them so that you know what they are, too. Like we see Mr. Mxyzptlk, and he's this this blue thing with white hair and everything, but then at one point he manages to put on his little top hat. Like
You look,
okay,
it
that.
reminded me of like the 8 Billion Genies is what it reminded me of.
Okay.
Yep.
Whenever I picture him, I often get him mixed up with the Great Gazoo from the Flintstones. But yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a good comparison. Shadows. Okay, well I need to. I'm just waiting on a new episode. Then I guess I like weird crime dramas. Yeah, I do too. I want them to do another one of those like American crime drama style things that they did for Dahmer. Like pick another topic and dive in on like kind of a character study like that. That was interesting.
Like the Netflix show you're talking about?
Yeah. Do you know how like they did American Horror Story on FX for a while, and then they tried to like change the genre up and do American crime stories. And they did the OJ season, then they did the was it Gucci?
Yes.
Yep.
The House of Gucci.
And those were solid as well. But John Travolta playing Shapiro with them eyebrows. That was hilarious. Interview with the
Who was
Vampire
Robert
Season-
Kardashian? Was it Ross from Friends?
I think it was.
Okay. They should try and switch it up and give something that's still modern, because I remember they did a Ted Bundy one as well on Netflix. Like, what was the American one? BTK, the one that had the
Was
religious
that
aspect of it.
Kaczynski or something?
No, Ted
Fine.
Kaczynski was the Unabomber,
Okay.
but BTK, like that killer, I thought was
Dennis
was like
Rader.
was a member of a church, but like a high-ranking official inside of a church, so no one thought it would be this guy, but it turns out that he was just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
No, there's definitely an unlimited supply of American crime stories they can dive in on. Unlimited supply. But in other news, isn't Loki season 2 about to be kicking off?
I thought I read that's like
28th.
Halloween time. It's coming almost mid to late October.
Oh wow, that's not even close.
Yeah, they're just they finally just did the first full length trailer, right, for San Diego.
Right.
Yeah,
And they
October
didn't-
6th.
and
It looks like.
They
so, yeah.
didn't. They didn't. list the
Ahsoka's
dates
coming
ahead of time.
first.
Right.
Okay, Ahsoka was one I'm
So
thinking. Of. When is
Ahsoka
that?
Ahsoka, I think, is end of August, early September.
Right.
So she gets her run, and then Loki returns. So I don't think they're going to put them up at the exact same time.
August 23rd for Ahsoka. So that's coming fast. So we got
Okay.
Yeah.
not next
And
week.
they're doing the first 2 episodes. They're releasing again on the first day.
Right. But for me, when is Invincible coming? Like, I never thought I'd be so excited for a cartoon, for season 2 of a cartoon. But
it
yeah,
feels like that
I-
one's taking a while.
yeah.
You watched the Adam Eve one?
No, it's a
November
one shot
3rd
though,
for
right?
Invincible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nope, not yet. So that's a one shot, I think. Is it
Yep.
actually been released?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I haven't watched
It's
that
on
one yet.
Prime
Did I
Video.
know that? I think I knew that.
I don't think Amazon was prepared at all for the positive response to that first season of Invincible. It's almost like they were expecting to do a one and done season, and they're like, "Dude, we got a hit on our hands here."
Yep. But they made 2 seasons though this time around, right? So the second and
Right.
third season are all
didn't know that.
already good to go. Yeah.
That's really cool.
But yeah, they got a lot of decent names coming in for the season 2 to be voice actors.
Yeah. So there's some stuff to look forward to. I hope Ahsoka's good. For me, typically the Star Wars stuff falls flat. It's going to be leaning heavily into the sequels era of everything, and there's supposed to be like the Ray Stevenson character and another character supposed to be seeding the origin of the Knights of Ren that we got no backstory or anything on. They're just
Right.
there all of a sudden and supposed to be menacing. And when it comes to all that, I couldn't care less if I tried.
Oh
But-
man, it'll be the days. It'll be the days of Anakin and Luke. It's supposed to be not
He's
time
supposed to
jumping,
be
but
in it.
referencing
Hayden
both.
Christensen is supposed to be in
Yes,
it.
he is.
And some of them, yeah.
Yep.
So this is a flashback from when we last saw Ahsoka in the Mandalorian stuff.
No, a little bit of an origin tale with Anakin himself, but apparently he's supposed to be in the suit again. But because her race lives considerably longer than like humans, I guess, or whatever, or humanoids.
People looking things.
Yes, but she lives a lot longer than Anakin and Luke do, apparently. So that's why she doesn't really age. But
Nice. Rosario Dawson fits that role very well.
Hmm.
Those episodes she was in were fantastic for the Mandalorian stuff. So we'll see where it goes. This series is supposed to be this along with Mandalorian. It's supposed to be queuing us up for some movie they announced at Star Wars appreciation event where they're going to
Yeah, well,
celebration.
there's a couple things. They're doing a movie that's supposed to wrap up the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and everything too. But there also is a rumor that they're not going to do a 4th season of the Mandalorian. They're going to do like 2-hour movies or something instead.
Mhm.
Okay.
As that's going to be like the 4th season.
Mike says it's going to be after Order 66 before Episode 7.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll We'll see. I'm going to check it out. I hope it's good. I really do. I love the originals. I love the prequels more than anything, probably because of my age when they came out and everything. But
They've
this
aged
stuff
well.
huh?
They've aged well.
I think so.
I was just say, because they weren't appreciated when they came out. There was a lot of
They
hatred.
sure are now.
But they've aged well. And looking back, I appreciate Hayden Christensen's performance more and more. More and more.
I just want to get something with Jango Fett in it, man. I want some more Jango Fett. I love Jango Fett. I think he was like a comet, man. He came in fast, he burned bright, then he was gone. But there's a lot of stories you could tell with him. He's just cool. He's super cool. He single-handedly bested Obi-Wan, like in combat. Like he was tough. He like outmaneuvered him in the little chase scene and everything. We got to see Slave One doing all of its tricks and stuff. Like dude was cool. Like I mean, they took away all of his. He was executed. He was unarmed and
come on, man. Mace showed him what he had a gun.
Straight.
Mace showed him what's up.
He took away his rocket pack.
Around with a young Obi-Wan.
Mace is my favorite Jedi that's ever lived. He's the GOAT. Like he bested the Emperor in like seconds. Like it was nothing. But yeah, like it was crazy seeing two of my favorite characters go head up like that, and Django losing his.
Yeah,
but
you
yeah, it
head
was
up
awesome.
for sure.
It took Mace
Head
to
up on
do
his
it. Is the
shoulders.
way that I look at it. It took Mace to do it. Trampled, broken jetpack, and he went down there confidently. Though he went down there very confidently. Hashtag justice for Django. Could have both, but no Django. Yeah, I want to see like some throwback. Like go back and watch the Clone Wars stuff and everything. And Django's just cool, man. His suit looks great, silver and the blue highlights. He's just cool. Hashtag Team Django. So y'all want to touch on a few books from this week before we head out of here?
Sure.
So first off, I do want to mention, as we do every week, if you want to get all the details on what's going on in full with the Night Terrors event, every Monday at 10 a.m., Paul posts a DC Comics deep dive. The current topic is Night Terrors. Him and I have been going through the entire event, looking at each issue, all tie-ins and everything, and touching on that. So you can check that out for all the details, but there are a couple that I definitely do want to highlight. And the first and foremost being probably the toughest read of the week in Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern. And what's so tough about it is just the simple concept that all of us absolutely forgot. The book is Night Terrors. You have this new villain called Insomnia forcing people to sleep with his abilities and terrorizing them with their biggest fears. Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, being terrorized by fear. That's laughable. And that's exactly what they do in this book. So they set it up in the first one with him just getting shown all these failures and fears and everything. And then you get to this book and they do the reveal right off the bat. Like all his fears are just coming at him. And I've searched deep in your mind. And Hal just like, yo, what? You think I'm afraid of these things? They're in the deep of my mind because I processed and dealt with them. You must not know who I am. And he just starts terrorizing the nightmares. They realize this dude doesn't have fears like that. And it goes running from Hal, and he doesn't let them run away. He keeps chasing them down and beating them up, and they just keep trying to run, and he doesn't let them leave. And it was so tough. It was like a hoorah book from beginning to end. It was so fun.
So the hero to lead the way is going to be Green Lantern.
It should be after that. But no, it's Deadman, and Deadman definitely his story more than anything. When you get to the main body of it, but Hal is probably the strongest weapon that the good guys have on their side at that point. But they were all forced to sleep, so it wasn't like he could do anything to go help the main plot. Like in the main plot, you just have like Deadman possessing Batman's body to move around the world of the living. You have Wesley Dodds, who's been reanimated, dug up out of the ground and woke up because he directly worked on the case against Dr. Destiny back in the day where this Nightmare Stone originated in. So you have Zombie Sandman and Deadman trying to figure it out in the real world. And that in the main book was fantastic because they figured out that Insomnia is looking for the MacGuffin, the Nightmare Stone, and it was hidden in somebody's nightmare, in their dreams. And it's not the Dream Stone. So that's why we're in the nightmares. It's the nightmare stone. And
So Green Lantern is still asleep, though.
not
No,
now.
he's awake
Everyone's
now.
like, this is issue 2. There's only 2. They're like
They're all
2-part
starting to wake
tie-ins.
up now.
They're all
Everyone's
starting to wake
waking up at the end of the second one. So what was cool is Insomnia is popping up in all these, looking in on them having these nightmares to see if he can find the stone. And it's revealed where it is in the main title this week. And it was Deadman all along. It was hidden with him, but he's unique in the sense that he's not alive or dead. He exists on this weird plane. And for him, that means there has to be something different. And what we found out was it's not in no one's nightmares. It's not in the waking world. It must be somewhere in between. So they go to Wesley Dodds, who's a chemist and can put people to sleep. That's what he does with his gas gun. And he formulates it to get them where they're somewhere between 1 foot awake, 1 foot asleep. And they introduce this new concept called the hollow. And that's where Deadman's nightmares and dreams exist, in the hollow, in between. And we found out that they found the stone inside Deadman's nightmare. That's where it was hidden. How creative, how smart is it to have the character that's not actually, like, you know what I'm saying?
That
Like
is,
it was dope.
he's dead, but he can inhabit the living. So he's like caught between, the two things as well.
So Dr. Destiny really went out of his way to hide this stone, and he picked the right person to hide it in. And it was presented in a fantastic fashion. And so they have the stone now. We'll see where it goes. I can get behind Green Lantern scaring the crap out of everyone. Yeah.
So
dude,
what plane is Insomnia on then?
Insomnia exists. He exists in the real world, and his abilities that were brought to life by the Lazarus effect from Lazarus Planet. He was an inmate at Arkham that the Lazarus rain got on it, fired him up, and it gave him the ability to inhabit people's nightmares, to bring their terrors to life, to put people to sleep and stuff like that. But he is a physical person on the real world.
And we see how he became Insomnia. We see the actual him becoming Insomnia in Arkham in a very graphic and just a very horrifying sequence. And the third issue of Night Terrors, besides the Hollow, also introduces us to something called the House of Horror. So it not only does it move the story forward, but it actually expands the DC mythos in the horror and the mystery realm as well. So
yeah, they even point out in the Wonder Woman tie-in, which a couple of these tie-ins are really just excuses to be other books. Wonder Woman is really Justice League Dark, 100% Justice League Dark, which she's been a member of the team before. And it's kind of like a Zatanna written by the Doom Patrol writers, really a Doom Patrol adjacent book with them being just as important a characters kind of thing. But they introduce in the Wonder Woman book the concept that we're not just simply asleep. We're not asleep. Our consciousness is in a physical place inside of the supernatural umbrella kind of thing. That this nightmare realm is a place. When Constantine was in there's like, yo, I've heard about this place. I've never even been here. I thought it was just a myth. So you have like these creatures called the Sleepless Knights, which are pretty much like the generals to Insomnia. We don't know where, if he created them or this or that, but it leads you to believe that they're just entities that exist on this plane. So they've introduced us to two other solid planes that no other stories have been written from and no other writers have dabbled in. So there's a lot of actual like world building happening in this, and to the point of it being like a shoehorned in event, it is not. It is definitely a Dawn of DC event, because these little one shots have been used as a way to highlight these characters. Like I mentioned, how Green Lantern was shown all of his biggest failures. If you're jumping in at Green Lantern for the first time with this Dawn of DC, you had 2 issues, then Night Terrors, and they use Night Terrors to show you like the death of his loved ones, being parallaxed, Coast City fall, and like it just hits all the bullet points for these characters, and then moves that plot forward. So it was ridiculously well crafted, and I've never been more wrong about being excited for something in my life.
One question then, boys. So I know Ivy's had her tie-ins.
Trash.
Was Swamp Thing tied into that? So
No,
if Constantine's been introduced into this already,
Swamp Thing was in Wonder Woman.
Swamp Thing was in Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
major or minor character, like how, like, because he is on two different planes as well.
It's just 2 one-shots, and
Right.
like we've only had one of the Wonder Woman. The next one comes out Tuesday, and really it's just the Justice League Dark present together. The focus is on Wonder Woman, Detective Chimp, and Constantine through that first issue, them getting kind of grouped
Till
together.
the jail dark. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was waiting for this show all day, then forgot around 8 p.m. because Big Brother was delayed and was making dinner. I'm sorry to hear it. And a big shout out to Headquake Jr. He put up a couple videos today as well, and he is the one that has donated the Catwoman slab for the giveaway. If you watch the graded comic collection video series I've been doing, enter to win this beautiful Zerdy slab donated by Headquake. Big shout out to him. And again, Jeff, if you want to watch him and enter, I'll have a separate book altogether just for you that no one will know what it is unless you choose to post it on your YouTube channel. So I appreciate you, my friend.
If I can throw in a quick plug for the deep dive tomorrow, we also will talk about our special live edition that we're going to do on September 6th and what we're going to be giving away as well.
Yeah, so like Mike, I know you're reading Night Terrors. If anyone's out there is reading this and they want to join the live show, we're going to do like we did for Dark Crisis. At the end of this event, we're going to go live for the big finale, and we're going to discuss it, the highs and lows and all that stuff. And there's a massive giveaway package that Paul has put together for people that are watching that video series and commenting on the deep dive, as well as another one for the live audience too. So it's going to be huge.
Huge.
Yeah, Swamp Thing was he was the ground. Swamp Thing was the ground and the tree. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a solid event. So if you want to know what's going on and the tie-ins and more details on what's going on with it and everything, be sure to check out that deep dive tomorrow because it was a ridiculously solid week. We had Robin come out. What was the other one? Zatanna come out. Shazam. The Flash was ridiculously good. Ridiculously good. So good. Good stuff. Chris, what was a highlight of your week of reading books?
The House of Slaughter kicked off a brand new arc. I thought it was as you guys know, I enjoyed the last arc with the custodian of history being sent out on the field because all the monster hunters that were basically sent out, and he was sent to investigate an incident that was been happening around the Great Lakes. Well, this new arc begins with more brand new characters, and it focuses in on the white what's the right word? The white masks, and that they travel in packs when they go to doing their investigations and their monster killings, and they send out a young guy whose name is Bait, who is a monster hunter that does not have arms. So it was pretty well done. Again, it seems like Tynan is just kind of puppet controlling at this point, where other writers are stepping in. Who's he? I want to get proper reference to it. Yeah, let's get Headquake to 100. I guess it's not going to be at the back. No pressure.
Some pressure.
Sam Johns. Sam Johns is the writer. Again,
Not
it's
it was John Johns.
Yeah, it wasn't Jeff Johns, but it was it's Sam Johns that's at the helm. It's Deladera, so I know Mark's not necessarily going to like the artwork or the layout style.
No, like it's just the panel layouts. They just throw.
So yeah, they have a young guy, and his name is literally Bait. So they send him out to draw the monsters out from their hiding, and like I said, the white masks, as you can see, they're all on this page over here. They're all taking down the monster.
And what was their specific specialty?
They take on larger monsters, whereas the black masks generally deal with just individual smaller type ones.
Mm-hmm.
But the white ones get sent off when they're dealing with giant size, those type of things. There's political dramas going on as normal in the house. That's typical Tynan stuff. A little bit of world building, a lot of bullying going on between the blue and the reds. But the fact that they're really talking about this young kid who has no arms being the focal point and pushing him forward as a representative for the white mass, especially when they're out in the field, is interesting. Much like the beginning of the last arc, when we had someone with no experience being sent out, only knowing the history of monster hunting and how to do it that way. So I enjoyed it. Again, I almost want to say this is better than Something is Killing the Children, But the last issue of Something to Kill the Children was pretty damn good. So the House of Slaughter has moved away from that terrible first arc into something that's been really good and something worth picking up in a trade if you enjoy the world of House of Slaughter. So yeah, 3.5 Maple Leafs out of 5.
Not bad at all. Do you think that they're ever going to move forward with the show for that? With all things considered, with the current state of things, and I'm just wondering how much stuff like that was on the to-do list is never going to come into fruition after the current pause that the industry has taken.
This is something I think the three of us can almost answer the question. Are we suffering from superhero lag, superhero hangover? Are we suffering from comic book adaptation hangover? Because if we're just
not that one at all, because for a lot of people don't realize it, but like the overwhelming majority of the media content that we get for movies and shows is adapted from an existing comic, graphic novel. Right. Like they're very rarely original story works. Like
right.
Jurassic Park was a Michael Crichton novel,
right.
and so on and so forth, or a Stephen King book or a Patterson book. It's all existing literature, you know. So I think that there's a cape, like there's an act. I really think there's just like a Marvel DC fatigue on the big screen, like specifically.
So answer your question then, Mark. I think yes, it's going to happen, but I legitimately hope it's not just that first arc of Something's Killing the Children featuring Erica. I hope that they borrow more from the House of Slaughter and give us a little bit more of that drama so that we know it's not just her in a mask, that at the same time there's different masks representing different styles of hunting for the different monsters that are out there, but we're focusing in on Erica for particularly the first season and what happens in Wisconsin.
I bet if there's a television show, you'll see a merging of the two. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
How Something's Killing the Children was never meant to be more than like one story arc thing.
It's supposed to be 5 or 6 issues, right?
They like had to figure out what to do real fast to keep it going because of the success of it. And like with everything that they are introducing with House of Slaughter, I feel like that's all like thinking of a TV show. Like that's the other scenes. Like it's not just all going to be her in a town. Like it's going to be. It's giving you all the supporting cast and the next locations and everything. They're building it all now. Which
they could.
Really
you're exactly right. When Erica goes to Wisconsin, we could still see Aaron dealing with what he was dealing with in the first arc. But more importantly, again, like different characters need to get introduced. Not their arcs may not take off the way that these have in House of Slaughter at this point, but they could be introduced. And near the middle and the end of the seasons, they could be sent off to deal with whatever and the political drama. And with Erica breaking away from the House of Slaughter near the end, that's when the phone call could be done overseas to Cutter, and that's the introduction of Cutter for season 2 or at some point. Or we could even be known that there's something in the UK and she gets referenced at some point there. If it gets done. But I'm Netflix, man, because it's a Netflix property, if they move forward with the Mark Miller world, even if just for one season, I could see them rolling the dice on Tynan and seeing what that could do.
Yo, did y'all know that they did a follow-up to Jupiter's Legacy, a series based on the villains of that world? I had no idea till this week. I talked to somebody else who watched it. I already forgot because I didn't even know that it existed. I got to go watch that now. I love that show. But I'm all in for anything from Mark Millar's world. That's just, dude, I'm so hyped for that stuff. Big Game was so good. I went back and read Wanted. When me and Paul were hunting in Florida on vacation, I picked up Wanted and read it for the first time. I'd seen the movie countless times, but yeah.
But the movie's nothing like the series? The miniseries? No.
Yes and no. Like the movie doesn't lean in. Like superheroes exist in this world. It's not just like super assassins. I mean, in the movie Wanted, they had superpowers. You know, they had abilities like the hyper focus, jump across long distances, and like they had like super senses and like were enhanced people almost. But the whole concept. You read Nemesis, right?
Yes.
Like that whole concept of like all the heroes were killed by the supervillains and they made the world forget. that's the Wanted story that was in Nemesis. They were already seeding the connection. Like the whole premise to Wanted is the fraternity, the League of Assassins. That was really like a collective of all the super villains getting together and ridding the world of heroes, like coming together for the first time ever and making them all forget. And Wesley leans into being a bad guy. They're not just assassins, no, they're super villains in the book, like intentional villains that rule the world quietly because there's no reason for everyone to know they exist. We don't want people to know we exist as supervillains because we don't want them to know they were superheroes. And in this world, Kick-Ass, the character from Kick-Ass, is
That's
the
where I was
first.
going.
Yeah, it's the first resurgence of the natural process of heroes coming back.
Right. That's and the one thing that I've just over the years when Kick-Ass gets mentioned and stuff, whenever people talk about Kick-Ass in that world, they always reference Kick-Ass to being the great light, like the new hope for the Millerverse. And yeah, but it's it's tragically good because there's very little light in that world. Very little light when it comes to superheroes.
And unfortunately for the Jupiter's Legacy thing, I don't think that Jupiter's Legacy exists inside this world because for it to exist inside the Millar world as like actual tangible characters, that means that the heroes weren't defeated. That means they would exist. So in Big Game issue 1, you actually see somebody watching the Jupiter's Legacy television show on TV, which is unfortunate because I wanted to get the Utopian back. I even picked up the Frank Quitely cover of Utopian for issue 1. Just they're really cool characters. I need to go back now and read all the Jupiter's Legacy stuff and everything. That show was fantastic. I think there's like 3 or 4 collected volumes for that series. It ran for a good while, but yeah,
but they all fell too.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, heads up. Look at that week's end.
Yeah, Kingsman is supposed to be getting brought in as well. They've been confirmed to be part of Big Game. We haven't seen them yet, but yeah, I'm pumped for that too. It
was just a little bubble on the final page. I think the Kingsmen were, or some sort of reference.
Yeah, like a little insignia or something. Yeah. I think yeah, it's going to be dope. I wonder if like that group of people that we see that are working, like we don't know what they're doing, but they uncovered that giant ancient ruins and everything that they were looking at that dig site. I wonder if they're connected with the Kingsmen or something. It just hasn't been revealed that that's who they are yet. Because we have to have some kind of organization actively push back against the Big Game. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, they are. Absolutely. Yep. Kingsman, Kick-Ass, Wanted, Jupiter's Legacy, Magic Order. Like there's more. There's so many more. Like
all of them are coming into this. Yeah.
Yeah, massive world. Paul, what's a hit for you this week? Yeah, we've been nailing this. I mean, guessing each other's pools. So, what do you think of Superman Annual 2020?
I absolutely loved it. We talked about this last night, but I'm most excited about how it seeds more what the big Superman crossover event's going to be for 2024 because we see at the end of this particular issue how Brainiac has the last city of Zarnia in a bottle. So that means that Lobo is not the last Zarnian anymore. And that means that, there's that Brainiac is... Yeah.
There's two now?
No, there's an entire city. Lobo thought Lobo's whole origin is he killed his entire race to be the last one there is. Well,
right.
He thought he did. Brainiac has an entire city on a ship like he does Kandor and countless other cities from worlds across the universe. He has a bottled city of Zarnia that is revealed in this book.
Okay. I thought he had one to begin with. I was confused with the different one. So he has a city that Lobo thought he finished.
That Lobo doesn't know about, which means that he's not the last Zarnian anymore.
Yeah, he's gonna be so fragging mad.
Exactly. And so it seems as though Lobo, Brainiac are all going to be part of this big Superman event next year, and I, for one, cannot wait.
Yeah, this was an interesting annual. And, a lot of time with these annuals, you'll get a couple of short stories kind of thing, just focusing, highlighting on different areas of what's going on in the main title. And this one, Joshua Williamson did something unique. Instead of doing separate individual stories, he took the cast of characters that you would find at the Daily Planet. You have plenty of people in there. You have Lois as the chief currently, so they use that to kind of highlight her role as the new chief. And what they did is they show you her sending people out on assignments. So you follow them into those stories so that it is a seamless one story off. And we go to the prison and we see what's going on with Livewire. We touch on Jimmy Olsen. We get a little shot of Marilyn Moonlight again, who's a fascinating character. I want to see more of this character. And then they cap it all off with that big reveal that Brainiac is coming. Brainiac has the bottled city from Zarnia, and Brainiac has Doomsday Hounds by his side. Doomsday Hounds. So we know that there's a big thing coming with Doomsday, and there's like so many little teases, like Paul said, of what's coming. Boom, the 15-month member badge, nerd swag. Hell yeah, appreciate that, Circumstances. Well, who's going to F up Brainiac? Yes, probably. He's not gonna be happy about this at all. But yeah, it was ridiculously solid. Yeah, it looks like the God, who did that Brainiac story? The one that they made the movie off of. I think Jeff Johns wrote it, but who did the artwork for it?
Gary Frank.
Gary Frank, thank you. It's the Gary Frank design.
Okay. So it's going to be Superman and Lobo teaming up to take down Brainiac, and then Superman getting the city and keeping it away from Lobo, trying to keep everyone alive that's inside that glass bottle.
Yeah. But we still have, he has like you said, we have the Doomsday Hounds. We also have the Project Chained that we haven't fully learned what that's about yet, but that's been teased. That'll be coming before the end of the year. I'm sure that will somehow work in everything as well. So
I know what it is. We know what it is. If you're reading it, they're building their own Bizarro. They've got his corpse there. It looks like, I think, because, Dr. Farm, there's so many new characters that have been introduced to this. We've been seeing the primary battles have been with recurring Superman villains, but they've been altered, augmented, or enhanced by this new character, Dr. Farm, who plays into Lex's shadowy past. There's a big block of Lex's history in Metropolis that no one knows about or can find, because we found out in this, Perry White, of all people, hid it from the public. And it looks like during this time, Lex attempted to be a hero for Metropolis, like actively fighting super criminals. And what it's looking like is they're going around enhancing all these villains, all to get to Lex, because they're mad at Lex. This is a character Lex dealt with during that blackout phase in his past. I'm thinking they're taking these abilities from these characters when they're altering them, and they're about to make like an Amazo style Bizarro with all of Superman's villains in it. Project Unchained, that's Superman with the whole Unchained little Easter egg there. And we know they have Bizarro's corpse in there that they're experimenting on, and above him in the background you always see all of Superman's rogues. And in this, we see that they have Lobo actively right now in their possession that they're experimenting on. So that's my guess. My guess is we're going to get like an Amazo style Bizarro, get Bizarro Unchained. Bizarro is a hot commodity in Superman stuff right now, especially what they did with that TV show. That was absolutely amazing. Durs, appreciate you subbing up. I got Headquake Jr. pinned in the comment section. Everybody hit that link, sub him up. Let's get him to 100 subscribers. He graciously donated that Catwoman slab that's part of the giveaway for the graded comic collection. Let's show him some love. What is going on, Entropy Comics? How are you tonight?
16 away.
16 away. There's 19 watching. Let's hit it if you hadn't. Hit it if you hadn't. Another one that I think that I most certainly want to highlight, it has to be highlighted, and that's Tom King's Danger Street. I am absolutely loving this. This is probably my favorite Tom King book that he's done. This maxi series run he's been on in the last 2 years. Yeah, Paul's got the Mike Grell one. I picked up one of those and gave it away. If y'all don't know, I do a new DC Day live stream video every Tuesday, and I give away some new books, and that was one of the ones that went out to the prize winner that was Hoarder's Hide this week. But this was a fantastic issue. We have the Manhunter in the grasp of the outsiders following the events of the last issue. And in this issue, we get some of the the origin for not just the Outsiders, but the Green Team, and see how it was one group of kids that used to play together at recess, and they would play a don't step on the crack style game. And that's how they would kind of split into two groups. And the winners of that game would be the Green Team, and the losers would be the Outsiders for the day until the next day when they play again. And a mysterious figure comes to them and has them play, but put stakes on the line. And it looks like this mysterious figure is who bestowed the winners, the Green Team, with their intellect and their know-how to become these titans of industry, and who cursed the Outsiders to be these disgusting monsters, for lack of a better word. And we don't get a reveal of who this mysterious person that did this to them is, but he was holding the Helm of Fate when he did it. And we also don't get much on the story of what's happening with Apocalypse and Highfather holding the sky up in Atlas's absence, but we do see Lady Cop is hanging out with Jack, aka the Creeper, and gets revealed that he is the Creeper. And it also looks like they're getting enough information from each other to realize how bad the Green Team is. And even though it ends with her getting freaked out when he turns into the Creeper and knocks him out, I can see them teaming up moving forward into the next issue. This has been a fantastic story. And again, the strongest point of it has to be the way that it's being told, as almost like a metaphor. Dr. Fate's helmet, the helmet of Naboo, is telling us a story in this allegorical sense of like knights and dragons and heroes and maidens, and just applying it to the characters where it fits. And it's just been absolutely fantastic.
Totally agree. And each of the issues, this issue is called Warlord, even though he's really not in it that much. But each of the issues, the title of it is matching the first issue special from the 1970s. So the one that was even though like the one that had Manhunter, I don't think even had Manhunter inside of it. It was issue number 7 of this series. It was issue number 7 in the original series as well. So they're kind of mirroring the titles of the stories from what was in the original issue back in the 70s.
Yeah,
kind of
book
cool.
8, Warlord,
Right.
featuring featuring the Outsiders.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic story. If you're not picking this one up, I can see this one hitting like Eisner nominations for the next year. This is going to resonate with the people that look at those for sure. Jorge Fornes was the perfect guy for the job for the art in this one as well. Chris, you got one more?
That's it for me, man. I went through Ghost Rider Wolverine, Weapons of Vengeance. It's I didn't get to do necessarily a deep dive the way that I wanted, but for a change, the Marvel artwork is kind of right there with what DC did for that, because I really feel DC's been kicking Marvel's ass when it comes to interior artwork. But it's exactly, without doing the deep dive. Sorry, everyone. Oh, so you did what? You did read it? Okay,
bro. I'm a Ghost Rider aholic. Benjamin Percy. This is a spin-off series from the main title. So if you're reading Benjamin Percy's phenomenal run on Ghost Rider, this is mandatory. This is Ghost Rider Wolverine Alpha. It's supposed to be 4 issues, and it will be bleeding through the titles. So Part 2 of Weapons of Vengeance drops this coming week in Ghost Rider number 17. And I'm thinking that we're going to get Wolverine dabbling in on this too. I'm assuming it'll
36.
hit both titles.
Yeah, it's next one is 17, Ghost Rider, then Wolverine 36, and then Weapons of Vengeance Omega.
Yeah, I love me some Wolverine. I love me some Ghost Rider. And when the books are good, I'm there. Like when the books are good, I am there. And Ghost Rider has been on fire lately, pun intended. Even the Danny Ketch flashback retro series has been fantastic. Now, I will fair warn you, Cosmic Ghost Rider is a dumpster fire. So read that one at your own peril. You did not get that recommendation from me.
Is he writing new stuff, or is he just substituting Ghost Rider for Nightwing?
No, that was only that one race issue. That was so wild, and it's crazy how that book just went, what is happening, and then right back. It's almost like he had to go somewhere to do something and couldn't write his book, so he just did that random 2 issues of the desert race for the devil just to hold us over. But man, this has been a great series. I can't wait to read this, because this is hot on the heels of getting off of a story arc. We got off the main story arc where Ghost Rider and Talia Warroad had to go confront the think tank that was holding Danny Ketch hostage because they were siphoning his Hellfire to gain access to Hell to get her brother's spirit back. And then we had that fantastic one-shot issue last month featuring all 3 of the most famous writers, from Danny Ketch to Johnny Blaze to Robbie Reyes.
Yep.
And now instead of jumping into a new story arc simply on Ghost Rider, we're getting this crossover event with Wolverine. And Logan is one of the tough SOBs that can actually ride side by side with Ghost Rider. So I think this is going to be a fun dynamic. Benjamin Percy's really knocking out of the park. I trust him to do good on this. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, this is looking at it. This is going to be something that might be worth a decent deep dive properly.
Yeah, you see how grotesque and monstrous some of the imagery is in it.
Yes,
That's how the main title is. So the premise of this is there's an excessively violent serial killer on the loose that has gotten the attention of not just the writer, but Wolverine himself. And Wolverine's the best at what he does, and what he does ain't pretty. And this serial killer is giving him a run for his money. So I'm excited to see how they rock and roll with this, because they have been teamed up before, as Chris pointed out in previous video, like the new Fantastic Four team that had Wolverine, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, and Joe Fixit. So this is a fun dynamic seeing Ghost Rider with Wolverine. So I'm happy to check it out through the lens of Benjamin Percy, who has this episodic horror vibe to his writing of Ghost Rider. It'll be dope.
Yeah. Again, this is some of the best artwork I've seen in a while in a Marvel book.
Yeah, it's solid.
Yeah, it's supposed
So if you enjoy that, check out the primary Ghost Rider run as well.
Who
Wolverine
does the art on that, Chris?
taking down a demon. I believe it's Benjamin Shaw. Let me just verify that for you.
Yeah, the artist, Shaw.
Jeff Shaw. Right. So
Okay.
Benjamin Percy, pardon me, and Jeff Shaw. Yeah. And I went with the cool cover, not that Frank Miller nightmare.
Yeah, a cover for the win. Thanks, Frank.
But
Instead of us getting, there was a fantastic George Perez Wolverine cover though that was just gorgeous.
Mhm.
But there was a terrible Frank Miller. I thought that Frank Miller cover was just for a Wolverine book, but apparently it was this.
yeah, and they released a version of it for the 1 in 50. Like, it's
Very good.
Marvel. What are you thinking? Like, come on.
I've been asking that question for years, Chris.
Oh, I get that Spider-Man seems to be the one they kick the hardest, but
The
come on,
punching
man.
bag.
Like, leave Wolverine alone, man. Wolverine hasn't been broken.
Like, wait a minute, y'all own this property. Why are y'all doing that to him? We understand why you're abusing Spider-Man, because Sony owns the film rights. You got Wolverine back. Give him a break. Yo, did y'all see where it was confirmed that we're getting like the Deadpool kills the 20th Century Fox story kind of thing? Because some of the set photos of the battle, it had the 20th Century Fox big billboard thing in ruins behind them. That's going to be hilarious. Mark my words, there will be a day when that Frank Miller cover will be highly sought out. I 100% agree with you, Journey. 100%. But it will not be worth more than a Bryce Comics exclusive. Congratulations to Comic Journey.
Too soon?
It's never too soon. CJ, I love you, my man, and I honestly do agree with you on that. That Wolverine one is going to be like owning a Darkhawk 1 kind of thing, or a Turok. It'll just be one of those like pieces to have in your collection. But Paul, before we go, can you spotlight that fantastic collector series McFarlane that you have over your right shoulder? This is a brand new line that McFarlane's doing.
Oh, is that Alan Scott?
That's Alan Scott from Day of Vengeance, one of Jeff Johns' earliest works at DC Comics, featuring a trading card with art by Alex Ross from his JSA run. But I believe it said that Alan Scott figure was based off of Day of Vengeance.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. How does the back look, Paul?
Fantastic. Look at that.
Oh, so it's all raw.
It's amazing. So what is it called? It's the collector series, right? It's this new line that he's doing. They're all limited.
McFarlane Collector Edition.
Collector edition. Super limited.
Website exclusive, or can you get it at stores, Paul?
Website exclusive.
Exclusive, and it's sold out.
Okay.
CJ, oh yeah. Boom. So yeah, dude, Paul hit me with the mine shipped today kind of thing, and I put one in the cart, and they released 3 figures for this first wave of collector's editions. And what's different about them is they have a nice 3D stand that you can put behind them with the card on it, so you can actually display your card with your figure. And it comes with some green flame, and that comes with the lantern as well. But they did 3 figures. They did first appearance Superman, which I think they missed the mark on. And they did Abyss from Batman 118, that Joshua Williamson 4-issue series they did between Tynion and Chip Zdarsky. So that, for one, Abyss doesn't belong in there.
Really?
Yeah, Alan Scott, Golden Age Superman, Abyss. But I guess they want to do something for everybody, the old school fans and new school collectors. And I'm surprised they didn't do like a first appearance of Batman or something.
I gotta admit, I thought Abyss was an interesting character. Came and went. I always thought it was kind of like a Phantasm on steroids, the look of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is going on, Tito? But yeah, dude, I went back when Paul said shipped, I went back to the website and opened my account. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't hit send. And when I hit it, it's like sold out. I'm like, what? So I had to eBay mine. I had to pay like $10 more. It wasn't too big of a markup on it. $10 more, and shipping is about the same. But I have this thing about ordering just one figure at a time from McFarlane. I always try to order 2 or 3 because like then the shipping makes a little more sense. And you got discount codes that are always available to the regular shoppers. You know where to find them, kind of thing. I'm hunting down the Dark Knight's Metal McFarlane figures. Some have been pricey, but I'm piecing some things together. Dude, huge congrats. And I had it confused. He's doing the first Dark Knight's Metal, not the Dark Knight's Death Metal. So he's putting together the High Father Batman, the Dark Father, I think it was something like that.
I was looking at some of the, I believe there was 3 of the DC versus vampires that he's released. And he did.
I was looking at the gold label Superman yesterday.
He did the Superman. Superman was a vampire, and
Joker.
And the thing is, Joker was annihilated. Like Joker was never turned. Joker was massacred, just like Lex. Lex was massacred, and so I kind of thought, like, why would they do Joker as a vampire? He wasn't really a vampire. They could have did Harley.
Bobby Jones Walmart had a few of the gold label Superman ones, Jeff, yesterday. They did. And then they did the Batman, and he was never a vampire either.
No, he was a hero all the way through till he wasn't.
The Merciless, yeah, that Merciless figure is super expensive.
I always think of Ming the
Merciless. Only one that I have from the Metal series.
Max von Sydow.
Because I don't get too many outside of movie figures, but I have Dawnbreaker because I get all the Green Lanterns. It comes with like this wicked bat construct, but this is a phenomenal figure. Like the detail and stuff on it is just ridiculous.
So, Mark, Paul, off the top of your heads, guys, how many Batman Who Laughs has he done so far?
2 or 3, because one of them has like the wings and stuff. One of them just the standard. Yeah. That I know of, I think 2 or 3. Yeah, he's got some cool ones. I got the Awkward Bane from the Last Night on Earth. I have that one too. I won that whole set, all 4 figures from the Comic Viking. Yeah, the Dawnbreaker I got came in a 2-pack because the only way to get Hal Jordan was with a 2-pack. Yeah, I think Paul has it back there. Yep, right over his shoulder. Yep, that one. So that was one of the cool things.
That's good looking Hal right there.
Yes. Yeah. And he comes with the punching glove. He comes with a rocket pack. It's a great set.
Is that a website exclusive too, or can you get that at the stores?
No, that's in stores.
Okay.
They did something cool with the Death Metal figures. Is they did the 2-packs like that with like Flash with Red Death, Green Lantern with Dawnbreaker, Superman with Devastator or whatever his name was. They did some cool ones.
Ooh.
The wing one is the one I got, which is upwards of $70. Then there's a build a car something. Then there's a sketch one that recently released, limited to 3K from EE. Yeah.
And I think if I recall correctly, I got when I got that pack, I also got for free. They gave us the Earth Prime Superboy, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, because I did the same thing. I've got that as well, where he's wearing the Monitor armor, which It looked kind of just like basic on the website, but when you get it in hand, you're like, yo, this actually looks really good.
Mhm.
Just like with some books, they just look so much better in hand. Yeah. But I guess we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. It's after 10 o'clock. We're about an hour and 40 minutes. People got to work tomorrow. Appreciate everybody coming and
it's a
hanging out in
school
the
night.
chat. It is. It's a school night. Monkey start school tomorrow. First
so
day.
weird, man. So weird.
It's not
Canadian-
like school. It's like preschool. She'll have like 2 years of preschool where it's like just things like it's from like 9 to 1. You know what I mean? It's not long. But we'll be back here again next week. Be sure to check out the channel. Turn the notifications on because I don't know what time I'll be doing the new DC Day video with the schedule changing. Now I have to drop 2 kids off at 2 separate schools and pick 2 kids up from 2 separate schools in the day. And yeah, I've got the part 7 of the graded comic collection video that'll drop tomorrow. Again, check that video out, that whole series out, and enter to win this Catwoman 47 donated by Headquake Jr. right here. His link to his channel is in the chat. Hit it, subscribe. Let's get him to 100. He's not far away at all. And yeah, Chris, what do you got coming up?
I'll be opening a Ollie's
Oh my
pack in the very near future.
Yes.
Yes, Ollie's. And just Wednesday, join me for a new comic book day hangout. Show us what you got.
Paul, we got the deep dive tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. But what do we got going on Wednesday?
Wednesday night, we have Guess That Key. Will be on Wednesday night. We have Dale of Suspense and S1 82.
Oh,
And I just posted on my Instagram not too long ago, just before we started, the giveaways. They're basically issues 2 through 6 of Flashpoint Beyond, the 1 in 50 ratio variants that are all homages to the history of the DC timeline. So check that out.
That is a disgusting video. 5 1 in 50s.
I'm gonna guess
They're
that-
all horizontal covers of Wally and Barry running through the history of DC, culminating in Dr. Manhattan's hand coming out. I'm like, this is insane.
I'm gonna guess that Dale brings a J. Scott Campbell cover, and Scotty Vaughn brings a Spider-Man Unlimited. Guess that key.
There you go.
Well, that's going to do it for tonight. Everybody be sure to go check out Blue Beetle. We're going to be talking about it next Sunday for sure. Yep, that drops this coming week. So that'll be the movie review special for next week. And until then, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.